undefeated. We are tapped in. Coach Jay, Coach Sean, we are here doing what we do. Big shout out before I even do anything to Ty Hayes. You know, Ty always hooking it up, man. Had a great segment over there with Ty Hayes. Please go over there and subscribe to Around the Table Sports. Ty Hayes does an outstanding job. He had us on panel, and it was a very, very fun time. What's up with you, Coach Jay?
Yeah, nothing much, man. Yeah, we just, it was a great time. I was just talking to you in the back. It was a great time being with. First of all, if you guys have not subscribed to Ty Hayes, one of our Bama members, of course, one of the best in the business. Please subscribe to Around the Table Sports. Some of the best coverage, some of the best insights you'll ever see, and of course, he brings it here, of course, on the morning shows, and then sometimes he'll come on with us on the evening shows. But yeah, you gotta subscribe to his YouTube channel. But shout out to the other panelists that were there. Of course, Coach Sean and me were there. Shout out to Nino from Nino's Corner. Really good Texas content creator. Kind of gave us some insight about their program, and he had a lot of compliments about our program and just his thoughts about us. And it was a great time, man. Jake Merrill, shout out to Coach Merrill. He was on there. I know a lot of you guys have been asking where's Coach Merrill. He was on today, and he will be back. He will definitely be back. Yeah. Joining with us, so we can't wait to get Coach Merrill back on here. And then of course, there are a lot of the guys, man, that will be on there on Mondays. Brensky, shout to Chris Griffin from the Horns Down podcast. I can't wait to see him being on there, and so many other content creators for Around the Table Sports on Mondays. That honestly, you guys should definitely be able to tune in. It was definitely an exciting time. And then most importantly, got to give a huge shout out to Hayes. Got to give a shout out to Hayes Fawcett. It was a great meeting with him, great talking with him. That dude, he is the king of recruiting right now. In terms of recruiting insight and knowledge, he is king. And so getting to talk with Hayes and getting him on the panel and hearing what he has to say, that was an honor to be a part of, man. So it was great, man. I know Coach Sean was definitely feeling the same way.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, man. Those guys do a great job. Definitely tap in and follow Hayes Fawcett, sharpshooter, my boy Brensky, and Nino's Corner. Absolute professional guys, know the game, enjoy the game, man. Follow those guys and check those guys out. They are what they say they are. Trust and believe. So, Coach Jay, just found out today. I don't know if you guys have heard. Maybe some of you have. And I do think this was on purpose thing. They're trying to follow what Texas done. This is what me and Coach Jay talked to you about. The Wisconsin game will be at 11 a.m. They're definitely trying to take a page from Texas. They know 11 a.m. that's going to throw your travel plans into a discombobulation. They know 11 a.m. You're coming from quite a piece away from Alabama to Wisconsin. They know 11 a.m. you're going to have to take special stipulations to be ready for an 11 a.m. game. They're pulling out all the stops to make sure that they put Alabama as uncomfortable as they possibly can. And it'll be 6:30 against Georgia and 11 a.m. in Wisconsin. What's your thoughts on that, Coach Jay?
Well, first of all, I will say this: for a lot of people, it will piss them off. For me, it's good because I can just I'm doing the round trip. I'm getting in there, I'm getting out. I'm going in and then I'm taking a flight. I'm gone. So that I'm happy. For me, right? Because now all of a sudden I was thinking about, because originally on the tickets it said 3:30, right? So it was going to be like a 2:30 game. That was originally set on the ticket. And if Camp Randall and Madison, Wisconsin is a very, very small location, so you know what that means. Traffic like hell. You got 80,000 people. It's going to be traffic like absolute crazy. The hotels I'm trying to find. I was trying to find an hotel. Can't find it because they're getting booked out. It's a lot of people from out of state, from a lot of Bama fans. You got a lot of Wisconsin fans that are literally coming in because this is an opportunity for them to see Alabama, right? The caliber of Alabama coming into their stadium. So yeah, it's good for me because I can just do the round trip now. I mean, I'm in and I'm out. So good for me. But for a lot of Bama fans, it's not going to be good because you got to wake up at 10, 11 o'clock. You got to wake up at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I know a lot of people they want to sleep in. It's Saturday, but no, you got to wake up early. and you got to be prepared because 11 o'clock in the morning, that's when that game will start. And again, a 1 hour time difference, will it make a difference? I would say a little bit. I would say a little bit. It will make a little bit of a difference because you got to wake up a little bit earlier. Maybe maybe for the players, maybe you got to wake up at you're accustomed to waking up at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning, so you can try to get prepared, get your last notes in, whatever film study, get that last little bit of knowledge, try to binge it, and then of course you got to get prepared on your way to the stadium, right? You're not eating a lot, right? You're eating a little bit of like a banana, you're eating like maybe a bar, like a bar, protein bar, whatever you're eating, but you're not really consuming a lot of a meal time when you're getting ready for a game. So that 1 hour time difference can make a difference. It can definitely make that difference, especially when it comes to sleep preparation, maybe when it comes to film preparation. It kind of makes it a little bit that much harder. So yeah, you're going up to the north in Madison, Wisconsin. It will be packed, right? Because 12 o'clock, people will be out compared to, let's say, 11 o'clock. And yes, I'm telling you, that 1 hour difference, I'm telling you, will make a difference in terms of traffic and stuff like that goes. But yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised, Coach. I literally on the ticket it said 3:30. Like I thought it was going to be a 3:30 game, but no, they decided to make that change. And like I said, it's a win for me. But I know for a lot of the fans that's gonna be back in Alabama watching the game, and for the players, yeah, it's gonna suck because we want to get out of the Western Kentucky. We want to get out of the playing against the South Florida. You want to get out of those games where you're playing early. You want to get to prime time 3:30. If not, it honestly could have been a night game, right? That game could have been a night game. It is week 3. There's not a lot going on in week 3. There's still you got ITT Tech playing against Clemson or ITT Tech playing against Georgia. You got those sort of situations. So I'm a little shocked the game is that early. I don't know if the game is going to be on game day, but yeah, I mean, you're talking about a very rare non-conference matchup. And remember, next year, guys, Bama's playing Wisconsin, and Wisconsin will travel to Tuscaloosa next season. So that's not good, really. The fact that a game that was supposed to be a primetime game is moved to 12. So it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, like I said, a win for a lot of the fans that kind of want to get in and get out. Let's be honest, not a lot to do in Madison, Wisconsin, besides eating cheese. But other than that, it is what it is. I feel bad for a lot of the fans that have to kind of stay home and wake up that early.
All facts, man. Nothing but facts. Shout out to Ronnie Jones. What's up, Ronnie Jones? Shout out to the broski from another Moski. Patriot Life. What's up with you, Rob? How you doing, bro? Atypical Gump. What's up with you, bro? Matt Farms, Roll Tide. Matthew Newton. What's up, Matthew? Chris from New Jersey. What's up with you, bro? Roll Tide Patty. What's up, Roll Tide Patty? How you doing? Who else we got? Mr. B205. What's up with you, brother? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Hacker Music. Roll Tide to you, Hacker. Good to see you in here, man. Jeff Horn says, hey, Coach Sean, sorry to have misspelled your name. Oh, man, no big deal, brother. I'm just glad you in here, man. Shout out to you. Javian Smith. What's up with you, Javian? How you doing, man? Norbert Henderson is in the house. Any news on Juju Lewis? I hadn't heard anything, Norbert. What about you, Coach Jay?
No, we should ask Hayes.
We should ask Hayes. Exactly.
We talk him on the side, but
exactly.
But it is what it is.
We just got off panel with the guy we should have been asking, but Norbert, we hadn't heard anything. Caitlin Engel, what's up, Caitlin? How you doing, my sis? Jag, what's up, Jag? ATL's finest right there, man. Good to see you in here, Jag. Much love to you for sure. OG Ephraim, what's up with you, man? How you doing, man? Good to see you, bro. Who else we got, man? Steven Angle. What's up, Steven? How you doing, man? Please hit that like button if you guys hadn't on your way in, please. J.A. Kelly, what's up with you, brother? How you doing? Mike Jones is in the house. What's up, Mike Jones? So yeah, man, that 11 o'clock is crazy. We don't have to worry about it being Texas heat in Wisconsin, so I don't think we'll be affected for real, outside of a little tired and a little discombobulated from an early game. We don't like the 11 a.m. games at home, much less somewhere else where you're really playing at 10. So the Wisconsin game will be at 11, and the Georgia game, which will be the week after the Wisconsin game, will be at 6:30. So we all knew there was going to probably be a night game. We all understood that we want to get Georgia under the lights. And I really do believe that will be an epic game. So we definitely want to keep our wits about us going to Wisconsin. Don't give these guys any type of positive reinforcements to, send us back home with bad, negative on our side, positive on theirs. And I think we'll be just fine. Corey Waldrop, Roll Tide to you, man. How you feeling? How you doing? Yeah, Coach J, I seen something where Vandermark, what's the young man's first name? I forgot his first name, but the kid that committed to us, what's his name? Gino? Was it Gino?
Yeah, I think Gino. The kid from Michigan State.
The kid that committed from Michigan State, 6'5", 325 pounds, saying that they wanted to get a look at him at center. Gino, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matthew.
That's where I thought, because honestly, if you're picking him up to play, I mean, like I said, he can play guard. He can play either guard or center. Yeah. But picking him up solely for him to try to guard wouldn't make any sense, because, again, for depth purposes, I could see it. But at this stage of the transfer portal, you want to pick up somebody to fill, you want to fill that roster spot, that scholarship limit. You want to fill that out because you believe that he can contribute to the team. And so he is 6'5", 320. He's a bigger center. He's not the ideal center size for a Kalen Moore style of offense or a Nick Sheridan offense. Yeah. But he's a mauler, right? He's not finesse. He's a mauler. He is that prototypical. Like, if he was on last year's Tyrese offense, he would have fit perfectly at center. He would have, he would have fit perfectly at center or guard. But he's a different prototypical player, and so I'm interested to see how that works. But yeah, they want center depth. I don't think they're confident. I don't think they were confident in it. They need to feel it. If Seth McLaughlin would have stayed, I'm not too sure if he would have picked him up. But we needed to really address that center depth, and we did that. So I think we're going to try him out as center and guard and see what happens.
I read where he's only taken 6 total snaps at center. He's only logged 6 snaps at center in his entire college career. Mm-hmm. He must be a smart kid because they wouldn't have brought him here to play center. You have to be exceptionally smart at center on calls, protections, things of that nature. So I got faith in the young man to come in and learn the job and really, really give us some depth at center. We hadn't seen Parker Brailsford yet. I'm sure, say what you want about what he done in the past with Washington. I hadn't seen Parker. So, yeah, Matthew, that's what I said earlier. He reminds me of Landon as far as his size. Landon was about 6'6", 320. This kid's about 6'5", 320. So, yeah, you can't go wrong with a kid who's experienced as far as interior offensive line play. I'm sure he'll be okay. But again, another reason why I say the fall camp will be exceptionally important. What's up, Jay Mims? How you doing, Jermaine Mims? Roll Tide to you. Coach Jay, what's your thoughts on this fall camp? I want to know what you think about this fall camp, not just for the offensive line position, but actually a multitude of positions.
I'm very curious to see, man. It's going to be battles all over the place. Really, with the exception of quarterback. I think running back wise will be a fight, right? Justice Haynes didn't really do that much because he was hurt. But you got 4 dudes that I genuinely like. So there's going to be a battle for that RB1. Or maybe not, again, and maybe if Jam Miller secured that spot, there'll be a fight for RB2 and RB3. And I'll be very curious to see what kind of happens there. I think at receiver, right? You got Ryan Williams and Rico Scott and Amari Jefferson. These guys are coming in during the fall camp. And so, you still have a Kendrick Law, you have a Jared Bernard, who I think is going to get some meaningful playing time. Kobe Prentice is still there as well. But there's also, if you look at some of these other areas, Cole Adams, but there's also, look at those other areas. Can you really, if Ryan Williams goes in there and he starts to really impress, are you going to deny that dude playing time? We've seen that this is a Kalen Moore offense that goes 5, 6, receivers deep at rotation. And so I'm curious about the receiving battles. I don't think that's done yet. I look at the secondary at the cornerback spot. I don't think that's done yet, right? You look at Damani Jackson. Damani Jackson he's literally your most experienced corner, and he's talented, but I don't think he's secured that job yet. I don't think he secured it, number one. And I think on the outside right now, it's probably going to be Deshaun. I think it's going to be Deshaun Jones. But he hasn't played. I mean, he hasn't taken a snap within this defense yet. So I'm not too sure about it. So I look at Xavier Brown, look at a Mincy that I could see, Jalen Mbakwe, whether you want to play him at safety or make that transition to corner. And then our Husky and rover spots. Interested to see what happens there. I don't think those areas are secure. Maybe the only position that are secure right now is possibly Malachi Moore and Keon Sapp. That's it, in my personal opinion. And then, of course, linebacker, you got Jahad Campbell and you have Deontay Lawson. Those spots are secured. But I think that there's going to be some battles from the edge spot. Defensive line-wise, I think it would be pretty secure. I think we got some depth, some much-needed quality depth there. But there's a lot of areas with a lot of youth and experience, but at the same time, a lot of talent. And these position battles are going to be very, very important to determine, especially for the first 4 to 5 games of the season, what's going to happen. I don't think that these battles will be over, right? We got to factor in injuries, and we have to factor in the fact that, yes, there's a lot of inexperience, but there's going to be, with a lot of inexperience, a lot of mistakes are going to happen within this offense and this defense. And the question is what will this coaching staff do? Will they kind of hold on these players and just say, you know what, let's just trust the process? Or do they want to factor in maybe having a much larger rotation, or maybe even factor getting more players to go above them, right? We've seen what Jahad Campbell did with what's his name? With Tresman Marshall.
Yeah.
We've seen it. We've seen the younger talent go in there and just boom and just get in there, right? We've seen it last year on the defensive line. You know, I'm very curious to see what happens. I don't think that this is going to be a done deal. I think you're going to see a lot of young dudes play, and I'm excited for fall camp to kind of see what's the direction of this team. We know that this team can compete. The question is are we ready? Are we truly ready to be on the national stage with this roster, or do we need more time to see if we can try to get there?
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. Me personally, I know we have quote unquote returning veterans, but for me, I want to see the young wide receivers come in here and see what their effect is. Like you talked about earlier, I did a video today. Hope everybody go get a chance to check that out at JMHO Sports Talk on the wide receivers. Listen, I am of the mindset that Ryan Williams is going to come in here, maybe even Rico Scott. These kids are very good at attacking the route. I think these kids are going to put pressure on our receiver room based off what I seen on A-Day. Without Jalen Hale, I do believe Ryan Williams and Rico Scott is going to put pressure on these guys to play. This fall camp is going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle, man. Just like Coach Jay said, at a multitude of positions. Our secondary, we all know how young that is. We all know outside of Deshaun Jones and Damani at USC, the time he did play, think of like 600-700 snaps, that those two guys are like the elder statesmen at corner, right? Obviously, we know safety. We have some, we have Malachi Moore, who has more snaps, but Damani has more snaps than Keon Sapp, right? Keon
was a death piece. He was a death piece and wasn't a full-time starter.
Yeah, so Damani Jackson has had more snaps than that guy. So this will be a transition, man. This will be a transition. Like Coach Jay said, the rover, is it going to be Red? Is it going to be Devontae Smith 2.0? I mean, who is it? Who is it going to be? There's still a lot of questions for this defense. There's a lot of questions. There's even some questions for the offense, if you ask me. I really do believe that, man. That's why I say, again, this fall camp will probably be one of the most important in recent memory that we've had. I seen where Coach Smart actually spoke on Coach DeBoer. Coach Kirby talked about he didn't know Kalen, and he welcomes him to the coaching family or coaching family tree, whatever the case may be. He spoke very highly of Coach Saban, of course, and he was just talking about the game at Alabama. Tate Ratliff talked about how they had a bad taste in their mouth last year. So Georgia is already talking about the game at Alabama. So these guys are already preparing themselves to come on the road to Tuscaloosa. Wisconsin is already preparing themselves to play Alabama. Shout out to Run the Table. What's up with you, Bear? How you doing? Shout out to Run the Table Sports TV. So it goes back to what Coach Jay was talking about a couple of segments ago. These guys will take this time and really make Alabama a focus the entire offseason. Now Clemson does play. Georgia does play Clemson, so they won't be able to focus solely on Alabama. But Alabama is definitely on the tips of their tongue right now, as is Wisconsin. And this is what we talked about by Alabama is everybody's Super Bowl. It doesn't matter if you're Georgia. It doesn't matter if you're Wisconsin. Everybody want to measure themselves against Alabama, especially now that Coach Saban is gone.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing Kirby wants to do is lose to Bama again with Coach Saban gone. That'll be really, really, really tough for that program. So I wanted to get your thoughts, Coach Jay, as far as Coach Saban leaving, the stigmatism that's about on Alabama right now, and what do you think that goes for the future?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, man. A lot of people they're gonna try to take that kill shot against Alabama. They're gonna aim that. They're gonna aim, and they're gonna aim right for the head and see if they can try to land it. Yeah, they smell blowing the water. Let's just see how it goes. But I think, and we talked about this on with Ty, is that I don't think a lot of people truly understand that this team is going to be different, right? Yeah. This team is going to be. This is not a Saban team. This is a Kalen DeBoer football team. The offense is going to look completely different literally completely different compared to what we look with Tommy Rees, compared to what we look with Bill O'Brien. This is going to be very similar to Steve Sarkisian, and even Sarkisian and Dale and Kalen DeBoer have their differences. They have their main differences that make each other so unique. But at the same time, both of them they have lethal offenses for a reason. This coaching staff, Jamarcus Shepard, Nick Sheridan, Cox, it's a different coaching staff that's way better. And so I think that a lot of teams have to be really careful when going against Alabama, right? Now, defensively, it's also going to look pretty different, right? Now, yes, we ran the 4-2-5 with Saban, but it wasn't our main defense, right? That's not the defense that we truly mained. Yeah. Yes, it was a part of our. Yes, it was an implementation of our in terms of our defense, but it wasn't what we truly mained, right? We're making it a complete heavy focus on the 4-2-5, and so there's going to be some differences. There's going to be some things that obviously we're going to have to work on. We're going to have to capitalize and make some mistakes. And like I said before, guys, this is going to be one of the youngest Bama defenses we've ever had, right? This defense makes 2010 look like a joke. Everyone thinks that 2010 team was young. Wait until you look at the age and look at the amount of experience that is coming that's coming for this year compared to 2010. 2010 looks like boomers compared to what they look like now. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to kind of see how this is. But at the same time, this Bama team has its pros and it has its cons. And a lot of teams have to be very careful in terms of sipping the Kool-Aid, in terms of really hyping their team up that much. Because, yes, Bama beat Georgia last year. Yes, Bama was really, really good, and they made it to the playoffs. But it's going to be a completely different team. And so, Kirby Smart said it. He doesn't know Kalen DeBoer. He doesn't know who he is. Yeah. He knows who Saban was. And so if Saban was returning back, then, yeah, I think Kirby Smart could have potentially got Nick Saban this year. It's simply because if anybody knows Nick Saban, it's Kirby Smart. And he literally built his entire coaching staff to be very similar to what Saban ran with LSU and what he ran with the Alabama Crimson Tide. That's no longer the case. Yeah. You saw what happened with Dan Lanning in Oregon when he tried to bring that same philosophical approach against Washington, and they got their asses smacked. So We'll see what happens, man. We'll definitely kind of see what happens. But, yeah, there's blood in the water. But at the same time, though, man, just because you have a wounded animal doesn't mean that the animal still can't bite you back. So we'll see what happens.
All facts. Just see that Curtis Perry, our defensive tackle, will be taking a visit this week to Wisconsin.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. To Wisconsin. Shout out to K-Mac. Shout out to JLB, Jimmy L. Baker. Shout out to both of you guys. Roll Tide to you. Thank you for coming. Make sure you guys hit that like button if you don't mind. The game will be on Fox. And I see where Coach Saban said his words for this 2024 team is they've got a lot to overcome. This is what Coach Saban said. He said that this team will have a lot to overcome. That's exactly what Coach Jay is saying. That's exactly what Coach Jay is saying, man. The youth thing, we've talked about that ad nauseum. I'm a star guy. I get it. I love the 5-star kids. I get it. But I understand, and I've said this 1,000 times, experience is finite. That's why somebody like Deshaun Jones has a place on Bama's roster because we're so young. That's taking nothing from the young kids, right? But these kids they have not played in a college football game at all. Um, so you got to take that into consideration when you're talking about young kids. Matthew Newton says, "Got to go, guys. Enjoy it. See y'all, Coach Sean and Coach
I
J. Roll
appreciate you,
Tide."
Matthew.
Yeah, appreciate you, Matthew. Also, a great video today, Coach Sean. Loving the content. Thank you, Matthew. Roll Tide to you, brother. Thank you for tapping in. We both, Coach J, Coach Sean, say
Yes,
thank
sir.
you so very much. Yeah, man. So that's the thing, guys. It's just what Coach J just talked about. You know, if you're really being realistic, what's up, Deborah Rothschild? Roll Tide to you, Deborah. Good to see you, girl. If you're being realistic, man, you don't want to be young at certain spots, right? I get a lot of messages about Coach Saban playing younger players. What's up, Adam? Roll Tide to Adam Lamparillo. What's up with you, Adam? But in essence, I think it was Coach J who broke this down a few segments ago. Really, when was the last time a freshman corner started from game one? Right? I don't remember it. I don't think Kool-Aid started from game one, right, Coach J? I don't think Pat Surtain started from game one, right?
No D. Milner.
No D. Milner.
No, let's see. No, that well. Let's see. You said Kool-Aid. I mean, if you want to count Minka, but Minka was a star. He was a star in a safety hybrid. He wasn't a boundary guy, so I can't really say him.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to
think. Marlon was a red shirt.
Yeah.
Marlon was a red shirt. Yeah, so it's like I don't even remember. Yeah, facts. I don't remember the last time a true freshman started from game one at corner for the University of Alabama. And it's say what you want, guys. I'm on the Zabian Brown train, right? I'm on that kid's train. I think he will be an awesome corner. Him, Mincy. These kids are going to be great. What's up, Robert Hale? Roll Tide to you, Robert.
Roll Tide.
But, it's still going on the road, man. It's still going on the road. You're going to have to play physical against Wisconsin. That's a very physical team. They're not going to do too much trying to fool you. They're going to line up. They're going to run their offense. I would love to see who Wisconsin plays the first two games before Bama. I might look that up. And you got Georgia coming right behind them. So, it's going to be a trying couple of weeks. Coach Saban said it best. They got a lot to overcome. He said, I think for Alabama, they've got a lot to overcome in the short term because of the number of players that they lost, that left this year. That's a lot of experience, You look at Caleb, Amari, Isaiah, all these kids would have had prominent roles on their team. Offense or defense. What's up, Larry? Shout out to Larry Lodge. What's up with you, bro? Good to see you, Larry. So people are going to have to step up, man. Guys will have to step up. And let's not forget this, and this is no disrespect. Jeremy Bernard was like the third receiver at Washington. He only had like 34 catches. Keon Sabb was not the top two safeties, right? So I respect these kids because I feel like they've gotten better. And I feel like those experiences at their respective colleges will help them be a quality starter for the University of Alabama. But, it's going to be a tough season, man. It's going to be a tough season. We got a lot to overcome. Like Coach Saban said, we just talked about it, Coach J. The schedules are what they are. And, you can be positive and tell yourself how we'll go. Mr. B205 said Sartain started in all 12 games, regular season games, a true freshman. I don't think he did, Mr. B. Can you speak to that?
It was Trayvon and Savion.
Facts. Savion Smith. Yeah.
Trayvon and Savion that started. Then Trayvon tore his ACL, and that's when Pat came in. Pat was the depth piece.
Yeah. I figured it was something like that, Mr. B, because I don't remember him starting the first game of the season. I remember him coming in for somebody. And he stayed there, obviously. So yeah. Larry Large says Deshae Townsend in 94. You might be right. I don't even remember. You might be right, Larry. But case in point, it doesn't happen rarely. It does not happen rarely, guys. And it might not rear its ugly head the first game. It might not rear its ugly head the second game. but you better believe it'll be tough going throughout the season. Thank you, Mr. B205. Shout out to you, my brother. So yeah, man. Even Coach Saban is acknowledging that this team is going to have a lot of hurdles to overcome. We lost some very, very, very experienced players, guys. Some very experienced players. Say what you want to about Isaiah. Now we made up for that by getting Jeremy. Jeremy was just experienced. Their stats were very, very similar, right? But at the same time, when you look around on the defensive side of the ball, and remember, Coach Jay, Deontay Lawson got hurt last year. Jihad Campbell got hurt last year. So you got to have those depth pieces, man. This is going to be a long football season. Now, the college football playoff has just added more games, obviously. You go through 12 games, possibly an SEC championship. You're about to be playing, 4 more games now instead of 2 or something like that. So it's going to be a long season. Shout out to James Crick and shout out to Coach Al Sanders. Good to see both of you. What's up, Coach Al? And shout out to Tim Nolan. What you think, Coach Jay?
What'd you say? You cut off. What'd you say?
Oh, my bad. I was saying as far as the long season, having depth is going to be super important, and I want to get your thoughts on the depth issue as far as going into the playoff and possibly an SEC championship.
Yeah, we got to figure out that has to be figured out right away. Because I don't think people truly understand this is not going to be this is not going to be a prototypical season. And I would say this not just for Alabama, this is for every team, right? Let's just say for the sake of argument, Oregon, right? Oregon's been hyped up a lot. Oregon goes undefeated. Let's say they go undefeated in the regular season. They can win a conference championship and then lose, and they can win because they get the bye week. They can win the second round, and they can easily lose in the third round. This is looking a lot more like college basketball than college football.
Yeah.
Why? Because in college basketball, you can be the best regular season team. You can win you can win the conference tournament, and you can get bounced out in the first round like Auburn did against Yale. Why? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, Auburn's depth was crap. Auburn's depth didn't show up to the table, and Yale's depth did. Their bench outscored Auburn like crazy. And so for football, it's gonna be very similar, right? It truly isn't going to be, unless you're Connecticut. And I mean, Connecticut had the perfect team. They were great from point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, and they had 7 dudes that they can roll deep in, that can rebound, that can shot create, that can shoot from the wing, that can shoot from the perimeter, that were solid, that were great wing defenders, that were great in the interior in terms of being rim protectors and enforcers. Connecticut was perfect, right? They were perfect. That's like 2001 Miami's roster. 2019's LSU, their offensive depth was off the charts. And even then, defensively, because the defense, because they were hurt so badly, by the time they got to the season, everybody came back. Everyone was starting to get healthy, right? Their offense made up for their defense, and finally everything clicked together in the last 3 to 4 games of the season. So it's not about how you start. It literally truly is how you finish. And so this is a long race, because you can go undefeated in the regular season. You can do everything perfect. And then that one slip up in let's say in the first round, the second round, the third round, or even when you get to the semifinals and national championship, that can cost you. Guys, a team, if they get the bye week, they're going to have to play 3 games. If the team doesn't get their bye week, they have to play 4 games. It's a longer road just to get to the national championship game than what we've ever seen before. So you have to have depth, right? You can have the greatest starting 11, the greatest starting 11, and the greatest starting offense of all time. But if injuries start to occur and then you don't have the backups to account for the losses and just be competent, you're screwed. And college basketball has shown us that you have to have depth. Yes, you need to have a great starting 5. But what wins national championships is depth and coaching. That's what wins it. So the great thing about Alabama and what I've said earlier is the fact that I believe we're going to have such a big rotation that experience can help us, maybe not right off the gate, right? But that rotation, but having that big rotation and having a lot of interchangeable parts, that could help us out down the road. Because now all of a sudden, when you rotate and you get and all of a sudden you have Zay Menzies and Xavier Browns and Red Morgans and Drake Kirkpatrick Juniors and a lot of these young guys, a lot of these young cats, a Musal, who else I'm trying to think of, just a lot of these kids, Jeremiah Alexander, that's what I'm thinking of, Jeremiah Alexander, who can find his way into the rotation. All of a sudden, a lot of that experience, knowing the playbook both offensively and defensively, all of a sudden that will rear its head in the offs. That will rear its head in the playoffs, and that's if you can even get to the playoffs. I can tell you though, that experience matters. You don't believe me? The best example was 2014 Ohio State, because a lot of those players that we talk about to this day, they weren't great to start off the season. Matter of fact, remember they lost to Virginia Tech, right? Because why? Because even though they were so much more talented than Virginia Tech, they lost that game to a much inferior opponent because of a lack of experience. They couldn't figure out who their starting 11 was going to be. They couldn't figure out who the offensive lineman was going to be. They couldn't figure out their running back situation, whether it was going to be Ezekiel Elliott who's going to get the fold. And then, of course, the injuries, right? Braxton Miller was hurt. So now Braxton Miller was hurt because remember, he tore his ACL before the season started. So they brought in a young JT Barrett who he didn't have experience. He didn't really have that experience. And Cardale Jones ended up being the backup, a guy who never thought was going to get that opportunity. So Ohio State, what helped them win that national championship was the last couple games in the regular season and conference play, which led up to beating Alabama, because the talent was there, but they lacked the experience. But once they started to make that heavy rotation and use of their depth, it was curtains. Because now all of a sudden, by the time they got to the end of the season, they knew exactly what they were doing compared to the beginning of the season, when they had no clue of who their starting 11 on both sides of the ball was even going to be. So that's the potential of what Alabama could be like, and I think that that if they can make it to the playoffs, it presents a big opportunity for this team to become a lot better than what we actually think what they actually think we're going to be.
That's a whole fact. I couldn't have said it better myself, man. Shout out to Rich B. Shout out to you, man. Mr. B205 said pretty much the same thing you saying, Coach Jay. Adam says, Coach, do you protect the young DBs on defense? Rush 5 or 6, get pressure, or drop more and play mostly zone? Well, here's the thing, Adam, respectfully. There's not one of those things you can do constantly without getting beat at some point in time, if that's what you're going to do. You can't really hide the DBs, really. Mm-hmm. You just can't hide them. I mean, you may be able to hide them against Western Kentucky or whoever but as the season, especially us early, Luke Fickell's a good coach. He'll know, Wisconsin's not going to go out and just throw for 350 on you, but they'll try to go at a young corner.
Not Brett Bielema. It's not Brett Bielema. You have a hog offensive line, and you just all of a sudden just run halfback dives and you're not doing that. Yeah.
Facts. Every coach that's worth his salt will take a crack at a young corner. Like that's just what it is. And we're not even going to talk about the offensive guys, the USF guy, the Tennessee guy, the guys the teams that we have coming in that are inexperienced. Georgia's not a 5-wide team, but they got a quarterback that can hurt you. They have some receivers that can hurt you. So yeah, these guys are young, and I'm sure they'll get it, as most young cornerbacks do during the course of the season. But you're going to have some bumps in the road, some big bumps, and those bumps may cost you a game or two. So let me get on Ohio State for a minute. Man, I wish I had a sound thing like Coach Hayes do. Shout out to Coach Hayes football. I wish I had like a sound, that little smack sound he had. You know what I mean? I wish I had one of those. So if you catch me offline, or either on my YouTube channel, I'll tell you what I really think about Ohio State. I won't do this on Kyle's show, but I think Ohio State is a bunch of witches with a W, but you take the W off and add the second letter in the alphabet. That's all I'll say. These dudes, man, and I'm talking about the administration. I ain't even gonna talk about the players. The players are ballers. Got nothing against the players. So now Urban Meyer is on this crusade talking about how NIL in college football has evolved into cheating. First of all, wish I had that damn sound effect. Go back and watch the 30 for 30 for Florida. Somebody tell Urban Meyer he should just shut the hell up. You should just really close your mouth, bruh. Like, stop it. Stop it. You know what I mean? You are one of the originators of like, stop it, man. You know what I mean? You preaching to a choir for two reasons. One, you broke every rule possible at Florida back in the day, in those Tim Tebow days. Every rule under recruiting, under benefits, under stipends outside of the program. Bruh, you was having murders going on, all type of stuff, man. So please stop it. Stop complaining. For two, preaching about cheating in the NIL when you speak, you used to work for Ohio State is utterly the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, stop it. Then on top of that, you got their athletic director, former athletic director, whatever he is. This guy, Gene Smith, is talking about, yeah, every game Michigan played against Ohio State should have an asterisk by it. Why? Because they whipped your asses? Could that be it? Because they put belt to ass on you? Is that it? Because you're sore because Michigan smacked you to the Everglades for 3 years straight? Like, man, these dudes are Ohio State, bruh. Listen. And if you listen to any of their shows, they come at you like they're just these sweater around the necktie. Like, stop it, bro. An ass whooping is just that. And you took it to them guys. Stop hating on Michigan. Stop talking about it should have an asterisk. You played a game on the field and you got your asses whipped. Point blank, period. And as far as Urban talking about NIL and cheating, bro, stop it. Stop it. You know what I'm saying? Really go look in the mirror at those Florida teams you had and look at the university that you work for or used to work for or presently work for, whatever the hell. Please stop. Shout out to Caleb Downs. Shout out to Julian Sayin. And shout out to Seth McLaughlin. Please stop. What you think about that, Coach Jay?
Yeah, Urban Meyer. You're literally talking about a coach that literally hired murderers. I mean, he recruited murderers on that football team, right? I mean, I'm not gonna go that much deep into it, but you know what I mean. Like I said, watch the Netflix documentary if you don't know what I'm talking about. In those teams, those teams were wild. Those teams had characters that you wouldn't even believe. Yes, they were talented and yes, they were great, but my goodness gracious, it's crazy that Tim Tebow was the saint of that team, and then you look at everybody else, and it's like, how in the hell did Tim Tebow play for that team?
Yeah,
but it is what it is. I think the Lord he played for Florida, because otherwise we probably wouldn't even landed Nick Saban here if Tebow would have came here. Not a lot of people really know about that. It was down to us in Florida.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if we were ever to be the same program if Tebow was to come here. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about a dude that broke a crap ton of rules. He's literally one of the most hated coaches in the NCAA for a reason. If we want to talk about rules and regulations, especially when he first came to Ohio State, and of course, everyone wants to blame Jim Harbaugh for setting up camps and antennas. He was the first person to do it. He was the first person to set up camps and antennas to all these different states, and stuff like that goes. And it was illegal at the time for what he was doing. Again, Ohio State's a great program. They're a great program. They're a great football team. Like Ohio State, honestly, in my opinion, they should be the favorite to win the national championship, right? The way that roster is. Like you got JT Tuimoloau, you got Jack Sawyer, Caleb Downs, you look at Hickman, you look at Denzel Burke. I mean, those guys, Quinshawn Jenkins added with Trayvon Henderson. You have a loaded offensive line. Pray that Seth McLaughlin doesn't play at center. Pray that he plays at guard. I think he'll be a much better guard compared to what he is at center. The receivers are absolutely loaded. You add in Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Ibuka. I mean, those guys are loaded to the gills. But one thing Ohio State needs to really truly focus on instead of talking crap about is the Michigan Wolverines, because Michigan's also loaded. Michigan's defense is, again, they lost experience, but they also return a lot of youth, right? Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham in the interior, those guys are back. Yes, to lose Keon Sapp, they're fine in the secondary. You return back Will Johnson. You got two of your starting safeties back. Your other outside corners there. Really, the only guy you lost was Mike Sernstill. Everybody else to that Michigan team, with the exception of losing a linebacker, you lose you also lose another piece to the NFL. I think third rounder. A lot of those dudes are back defensively. Now, offensively will be a question mark. And offensive line, they're going to get it figured out. I'm not worried about their offensive line. Sherrod Moore is one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. Receiver-wise is going to be a question mark because you do lose Roman Wilson. Donovan Edwards will be their star running back. But Michigan's going to be a hell of a team. So they need to focus on beating Michigan because Michigan has kicked their ass for 3 years. For 3 years. And 2 of them have been by double-digit scores by blowout. So they can't really. I get it. They want to talk the crap. They're feeling overconfident. Urban Meyer is a Ohio State supporter, but at the same time, though, they got to focus on what's best. Because Will Howard, they got to focus on that quarterback situation. They got to focus, and honestly, their offensive line, as much as I like about it, they got to figure out who's playing center, who's going to be playing at the left guard spot. So there's a lot of concerns that they need to focus on instead of worried about everybody else right now. But yeah, Michigan has kicked their ass for 3 years. Focus on them and focus on Oregon and USC coming into the Big Ten Conference because they're, and Washington coming to the Big Ten Conference because those teams are also not pushovers.
That's a whole fact, man. And the thing about it is, I see Darius. Darius says Ohio State's defense is loaded. All these players, JT, Jack. But see, here's my thing, bro. Those who don't learn from history are destined to repeat it. Not saying Ohio State couldn't win. They obviously could win. I don't believe them. I don't believe in Ohio State. I do believe Ryan Day will find a way to wet the bed. Because one thing Ryan Day has proved beyond a shadow of a doubt, doesn't matter how much talent they have. I've seen this movie before with 2 or 3 first rounders in the secondary, with a first round linebacker, first round defensive tackle, first round outside linebacker, first round safety. Guess what? Your quarterback didn't play well and you lost, right? The trigger man, he has to have the correct trigger man to win. I believe that. I don't care how much talent they got. I don't believe their quarterback spot is solidified. They got running backs out the wazoo, wide receivers out the wazoo. I don't believe their quarterback spot is national title noteworthy. For the same reason that I believe Ohio State, with all the talent, will not win a national championship this year, I give Ole Miss the same credit the other way. For all Lane's skip to my Lou mess-ups, right? I believe they have the right trigger man for Lane to cause some damage in this college football playoff this year. I think Lane, coming off a season, probably his most successful at Ole Miss, losing 2 games to only Georgia and Alabama, with a lot of players returning, a lot of transfer portal. I think Ole Miss is going to cause people some headaches this year. I really do. If not this year, I don't know when. I'm not as high on Ohio State as everybody else. Do they have as much talent as anybody in the country? Sure. I want to see who their trigger man is, because if it's Lincoln Keenholz, the kid I seen in the bowl game, I don't think they're going to get out of the Big Ten unscathed. Going to Oregon is going to be a game to watch. That's going to be a game to watch for them. That might be their only competition outside of Michigan, of course. I don't know, man. Roll Tide, Miss Kamal. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. Eric Burrow, roll tide to you, man. Birch, what's up with you, bro? How you feeling? How you doing? Chris Camp, roll tide. Kmart, roll tide, man. Bama Hammer, roll tide to you. Caleb Taylor, roll tide. So now their schedule is weak. Eric Burrow made a good point. They should go, and I say should, they should go 9-1. They should go 11-1, 12-0, right? They should. They shouldn't lose to Michigan and Oregon. You know, with the talent they have, they shouldn't lose to either one of them. But I believe somebody gonna slip up and bite them. Now that's not gonna keep them out the playoffs, like Coach Jay said. But it's gonna be interesting, man. It's gonna be interesting,
especially because there's no divisions.
Mm-hmm.
There's no division, so you know what that means. If Ohio State and Michigan are top 2 in that conference, whoever's the winner, guess what? Doesn't matter because you're playing again the next week in Indianapolis. This is what we talked about, guys, that these regular seasons, they don't have as much meaning as they used to, because everyone, and we'll, I don't know if we have the time to talk about it. I think we'll probably talk about it next time. But this whole who has the best rivalry in college football with the game between Ohio State and Michigan, that game won't mean that much anymore. Won't mean any much more, because again, the last 3 years, which honestly, again, you've had great moments and great games, and a lot was on the line when they played. But that whole, again, 2016, that overtime loss that Michigan suffered with Ohio State, I thought Michigan was the better team.
Yeah.
That game was impactful because that ended Michigan's season, right? The last 3 years, when literally the division was on the line, what made those games impactful was the fact that whoever lost, they were out the playoffs. They weren't even going to make it. They weren't going to make it to the conference championship. Their season was over. Now that's not the case anymore, because if these are the if these are the alphas, if these are the dogs, they will play each other literally the following week after November 27th or the 26th or that late November period. And even if they don't play each other in the conference championship, they may see each other again in the playoffs, or they could have an opportunity to meet each other for a national championship. You know what it reminds me of? These rivalries? Duke and North Carolina. Yes, Duke and North Carolina are great. Great rivalries in the regular season. Don't mean crap though, because ultimately, if they meet each other in the tournament, Duke can beat North Carolina 2 or 3 times, including in the conference tournament. Won't matter if North Carolina beats Duke in March Madness, because that's what they'll talk about. They'll ignore the regular season. They'll ignore the conference championship. What they will talk about is March Madness, beating them in the Final Four or in the Elite Eight, or no matter where they play them. That's what they'll talk about, and that's what Ohio State has to worry about. That's what a lot of these teams, including us, have to worry about. Truly, it's not about how you start. It literally is how you finish, because now it's room for error in the beginning. It's not room for error now when you get late in the season or in the playoffs, when you're injured, you're banged up, and you have no bye weeks, and you have to go on the road. It's not. I'm telling you, it's going to be a disaster for a lot of these teams. And that's what Ohio State needs to focus on. Don't be focused on everybody else. Focus on playing Michigan potentially 2 times. Focus on playing Oregon potentially 2 times. Focus on playing Washington potentially 2 times, because that's what you have to deal with. 18 teams and no divisions. That's what they asked for, and that's what you're going to get.
All facts. Shout out to Carla Henn. Much love to you back, Carla. Thank you for tapping in with us, girl. I appreciate you. Good to see you up in here for sure. Mike G, I want to talk about this for a minute. Mike G says something that's important right here. Mike G says, hey guys, the Big 12 should combine with the ACC and make a 3rd super conference. Check this out, Mike. That's actually an interesting comment, because the Big 12 has just got some smaller schools, but very, very good school, very good, solid, smaller schools. I would dare say, Mike, if we rated their conference and you have a 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, the Big 12 has a good chance of beating them, right? Let's say the best team in the Big 12 now is Oklahoma State or UCF. Who you think is the best team in the Big 12, Coach Jay?
Either Arizona or Utah.
Or Arizona, Utah. Forgot those teams are there, right? You pair them up against Clemson, Miami, and Florida State. The Big 12 has just as good a chance to beat them, man, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that would be the only way, Mike, that if any more teams do any more reshuffling, I think that's the only way those 2 conferences would ever come out unscathed. Now, if they combine, that's something to deal with. Right. But the ACC too stubborn. They too stubborn, man. They signed up that contract for so many years. That was ridiculously stupid. What's up, Trainwreck 70? How you doing, Caleb Taylor? That's interesting though, Mike G, because the geography for the original Big 12 and the original ACC isn't that far off, right? Now, Arizona and Utah and all those schools, yeah, we all know those are West Coast schools. But yeah, that's interesting. Shout out to Eric D. Good to see you, Eric D, man. What you think about that, Coach Jay?
Yeah, geography wise, it's different. It's different. I mean, if they do combine them, I could see it.
Yeah,
If they want to, because you got to compete with the Big Ten and you want to compete with the SEC. You want to try to incentivize Florida State and potentially Clemson and Miami for not leaving. You want them to stay because that's kind of in the heart of your conference. Even though Miami has been a disappointment from an attendance standpoint, they've been a complete failure over the years. But Florida State and Clemson leaving. I mean, that's been the heart of your program for the last decade, or even more so than that. So, if they do combine it, like I said, from a geographical standpoint, yes, it's rough because Utah will have to travel all the way to Florida State. Florida State will have to travel all the way to the West Coast and play Arizona. I mean, you got all the stuff going on, but at the same time, look at the Big 12. I mean, it's kind of that way already. I mean, Cincinnati has to travel. Cincinnati has to go on the road and go thousands of miles. It's happening right now. The SEC it's really the only conference where, I mean, it's close. Everyone, it's not that far off from each other. I mean, really, Oklahoma would be the furthest location. No, Missouri would be the furthest location. But even then, it's not that bad. The Big Ten is bad, though. I mean, USC got to go all the way to the East Coast. You got teams from the East Coast has to go to the West Coast, and it's a 3-hour time difference. It's brutal.
It's crazy. Yeah, we talked about that. That's crazy.
USC, Washington, UCLA. It's rough.
And look, this is something we didn't talk about.
Oregon, yeah.
We talked about football, Coach Jay, but we all know basketball games are sometimes 2 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
What if you're USC and you have to play Rutgers on a Tuesday night, and then you come back on a Friday night or Thursday night and you have to play Maryland, both on the road? So that means you're going from Los Angeles to New Jersey on a Tuesday night, and then you come back on Thursday night and going from Los Angeles to Maryland, or Penn State, or either way, it sucks, bro. Right? So we didn't even talk about the basketball or the volleyball or the the women's basketball. All these other sports are going to feel the effect of the football decision. What you think about that, Coach Jay?
Nope, you're right. Basketball season is about to be hell for a lot of these teams, man. I'm telling you. Women's basketball will be interesting with Juju Watkins, seeing Juju Watkins and how she's going to perform. You got to go it's you're right. You got to play it sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times a week. It's not going to look good. It's not going to look good at all. I'm looking at USC schedules. I'm curious. I'm very curious about about the West Coast to see what they're doing. Like the fact that, of course, like you play LSU at home, you got Utah State, but then you got to go on the road to Ann Arbor. Thank God that's not in November. Thank God it's not in November, because otherwise that would be a heart attack. But then you got to go on the road to Minnesota. Then you got to go on the road to Maryland. So I'm not gonna lie to you. USC has a very favorable schedule in terms of location, because you don't want to play in Ann Arbor in November. You don't want to go on the road to the Golden Gophers in November, especially because it snows a lot in Minnesota in November. You don't want to go on the road and do that type of stuff like that. But just because it's happening this year, it's much more favorable, doesn't mean it's not going to happen for anybody else. Listen, I'm about to bring up Washington's schedule right now. I'm very curious because that's another West Coast team. You see, it's not favorable for them because you got to go on the road to Indiana in late October, cold as hell. And you got to go on the road to Penn State, Beaver Stadium, 100,000 people in November in the cold where it can snow. Like it's not fair for some of these teams, man. That's coming from the West Coast. Like it's not fair for some of these teams. UCLA's got to go all. It's not. This is what we're talking about, guys. When we're saying college football in this regular season and it's changing. Right, it's changing. It's massive changes, and it's going to be to a point where regions truly don't matter anymore. And so, like we said before, guys, the combination of these conferences, it just won't. It's going to be normal. And I feel bad for a lot of these students that have to study for exams. These are still student athletes. You got to study for exams.
Exactly.
Get prepared for class. You don't want to have any tardy attendances. And stuff like that. So, I don't know what's going to be like for these kids, man. But it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough.
Shout out to Cotton. What's up with you, Cotton? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see you up in here. Shout out to William. What's up, William? Roll Tide, brother. How you feeling, bro? Yeah, it's gonna be crazy, man. It's gonna be crazy. It's a lot to. Hey, J.A. Kelly said Los Angeles to Maryland is a lot. Shit. Hey, J.A. Kelly. Think about Los Angeles to Rutgers. Think about LA to Rutgers, New Jersey. That's cross country.
Way longer.
Yeah. So, and what did the basketball team do to deserve that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got Rutgers on Wednesday. Well, you got who else is in that conference? You got Penn State on Friday. So, do you know how many miles that is? That you have to travel in a week.
Coach Sean, this is what people truly don't understand about weather.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at Oregon's schedule. You got to go on the road. So if you live in the West, if you've ever lived in the West Coast, temperatures will drop to like what, around 50 degrees, like 50, 40 degrees at times in October, like in November. Imagine having a really good weather, 60, 50 degree weather in November, to then all of a sudden you got to go on the road in November to Ann Arbor, and that weather drops in the 20s.
Yeah.
It's in the 30s and the 20s in November. Then you got to go all the way back up. You play again, and you're back to 40, 50 degree weather. And it's in Oregon, too. So Oregon rains a lot. It rains a crap ton in Eugene. So you got to go all the way back to that rainy, cold sort of environment. And you got to go all the way back down to Madison, Wisconsin, to one of the coldest environments in the United States in late November, where it could snow, an outdoor environment in front of 80,000 people would jump around. And it's in the teens.
A night game too.
Night game. That's what we're talking about, guys. And I'm telling you, this is what these people this is what the football team, basketball team, this is what you have to come down to. It's not just a time difference, it's weather. You got to get used to the weather, right? When Alabama traveled to Indianapolis for the national championship game, Coach Sean, do you know how many people for Alabama fans are saying, man, I feel bad for these kids traveling and going in this weather. This weather is brutal.
Yeah.
It's 21 degrees. How is that brutal weather?
Yeah, that wasn't even bad.
I'm like, it's 21 degrees. Like, that's not brutal at all. But for these kids, it's like, man, it's like going to Antarctica, because you've never seen anything like that before. You've never been a part of temperatures that low while it's snowing and it's icy you've never been a part of that environment for a long continuous amount of time. And this is what these kids have to deal with. You got to go on the road, and the time difference and weather changes. Oh, it's going to be so completely different compared to the SEC, where you can go from Texas to Bama to Florida to Georgia,
to
Louisiana. Yep. Really, the only place that's going to be a little unusual is Missouri.
Missouri, yeah,
Missouri. Everything, maybe Oklahoma too. But Oklahoma's not that bad either. I mean, it's really Missouri is going to be the only one that's major. Everywhere else, though, and Arkansas. I got to
Arkansas, yeah.
In Arkansas.
I'll say this, and Eric D, think about this. If you're a basketball team and you got a 7:00 game at Rutgers or a 6:00 game at Rutgers, I don't even know what time you got to leave. Do you leave the same day, or do you leave? And let's just say football. Now, football, you're definitely going to leave a couple of days prior, because you're going across 2 other time zones. So you got to leave a day or 2 before. Do you come back right after the game? Right? Do you hop up on the plane right after the game, coming from New Jersey to LA? Man, that is crazy. OG Ephraim says they were talking about separating football could be its own entity. I don't know how they could do that though, Ephraim, being that all the sports are going to be under one sanctioned conference. I don't know how they would separate one sport from another as far as conference affiliation. I don't know how that would work. But I will say this, Ephraim, all the decisions that were made about this realignment stuff was made because of football, not because of basketball, not because of baseball. Oh, we're not even thinking about baseball. Now, we know baseball, the weather is good all over, but the travel. Sometimes you have 3 games a week, man, right? So the travel. Remember, USC is in Los Angeles. UCLA is in Los Angeles. Oregon is on the West Coast. They're in the Big Ten. So New Jersey, Rutgers, Michigan, Ohio State, Columbus, those are their normal opponents in every sport. Every sport. Columbus, Ohio, to Los Angeles. I think that's like 2,000 miles or something like that. So I don't know how this is gonna work out, bro. I don't know. I have no clue. Soccer, yeah. It's not just one sport. Trainwreck 70 says people up north talk about the SEC never wants to play in the cold. But I remember when Penn State came down to play us and looked like a triage unit. Hey, let me say this on the sideline, and I had to do a thesis on this in college. Let me tell you this. For all the up north people that watch this, remember this. It is more dangerous to play in 99 to 100 degree weather than it is to play in 25, 30 degree weather.
Oh, it is.
It is. I had to do a report on this. It has been numerous people die for playing in hot temperatures. Down here, it get humid. You know, Texas, you know how it is. It's just freezing up there, right? Now, I won't say it's easy. We all know it's not easy to play in that weather, but we're talking about deaths in the humid temperatures. That's a whole fact, Trainwreck. What you think about that, Coach Jay?
No, it's true. I mean, I can tell you from experience. I can tell you from personal experience, man. I mean, for the most part, humid weather in the South it's no joke, man. They don't. Right. I mean, for the most part, like heat in the North, it's hot, but the weather is just dry. Like sometimes it gets humid, sometimes it doesn't. But our humidity doesn't even come close to Southern humidity. It's like it's murderous, bro. I don't know how y'all do it. It's murderous, bro, man. It's just you're sweating. Like you take a step and you're sweating.
Right.
And I got dry skin, so I got to be moisturized. I have dry skin, so it's just like I take a step and all of a sudden I'm sweating all over the damn place. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I can't. I'm telling you, man. I would definitely rather play in 25, 30 degree weather any day of the week. Why? Because my body can get heat up. The adrenaline starts to run out. I'm telling you, when you start playing in it and you start to take a couple hits, man, you're hot actually. You feel extremely hot. So you take off the sleeves, you take off the shirt, whatever is a sort of accessories you got, you take it off, you don't feel anything. But the South, no. I agree with that, John.
Let me tell you this.
It's no joke.
Yeah, all facts, Coach Jay. Let me tell you this. I can remember, brother, this was 2 years. Let's see, it was 2 years last year. We went to the Ole Miss game, Bama and Ole Miss. That damn game was that might be the hottest game as a fan I've ever been to. It was people in the stands passing out, man. They had paramedics in Bryant-Denny and BDS because people were fainting. It was so hot. It was like 102 that day. Is when we played Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's, when they had that running quarterback. I forgot his young name. He ended up transferring to UCF. The running kid. I forgot his name. He was real fast, real jukey. I forgot his name, but listen, that people was passing out, man. I can remember on the field they had the little temperature thing. It was like 108. They were had the little spritzer things that blow the little like they have at Six Flags, the little fan that blow the little pellets of whatever that is. People had oxygen masks. Bro, it was so hot in that game. And then my partners, my former teammates, what's up, Jarvis? Shout out to Jarvis, man. What's up to the fella Jarvis? What's up, Sid? Yeah, what's up, Jarvis? Shout out to D-Fin. What's up, D-Fin? Look, my partners went to the Texas game last year, or year 4 last, when we played Bryce's last year. They told me, play Plumlee. That's it, J.A. Kelly, when they had Plumlee. My partners told me, my former teammates told me that was the hottest game they had ever been to, played in, sat in. They said that Texas game was so damn hot. Same thing. People was passing out. They had paramedics out there. Like, it be so hot, and they said they didn't even have no air conditioners in the locker rooms. They had the portable air conditioners where you plug them in, the little portable air conditioners, which do pretty good. Now, the portable ones are really good, especially in small spaces. But mist, that mist, man. Listen, playing in the heat is not what's up. If y'all know, like I know, bro, if you're not in good shape, by the second half, you're throwing up in the locker room. You feel nauseous. You had to get IVs, man. It's terrible playing in August and September, like late August and early September. So it's crazy, Coach Jay. Ajayi Hall transferred to UCF. Yeah, we saw that. Shout out to him. You know what I mean? Roll Tide to him, whatever. But yeah, Coach Jay, you got anything else before we wrap it up?
Nah, man. I mean, I think to add on to it, man. I mean, I'll say this, man. The Bills and Dolphins game 2 years ago was a perfect example of you. I'm telling you, the South is no joke. All those Bills players had to get IV shots, passing out, throwing up, and all the Miami Dolphins did was they put all their players in the shade, and they had all that retractable roofs, all that beam lights set on the Bills sideline, and it was a disaster. It was a disaster, man. I'm telling you, you know, it's so easy. It's way easier to get acclimated to the cold weather in the north than getting acclimated to southern weather. You truly never can get acclimated. You truly never will get acclimated if you're not used to that weather, man. It's a different animal and a different beast, especially if you're playing there, man. But no, that's all I got.
Much love to the undefeated. You guys are absolutely awesome. We appreciate you guys more than you could ever possibly believe. Coach Jay, let everybody know where they can find you, my brother.
Yep, Jan 716, Jant Sports. You guys, you guys know that you can find me here on Bama Football on YouTube, mostly on weekdays. Shout to Coach Sean, shout to Coach Merrill, of course, shout to Coach Mook on doing with his network. Of course, I think he's going live right now, so shout out to him. Well, like I said, we appreciate him so much, especially everything that he's kind of done, especially helping me and Coach Sean on the ropes. Shout out to Coach Ty Hayes with Around the Table Sports TV. Like I said, we were there a little bit earlier on. Shout out to Hayes Fawcett for joining. Brett, shout out to Sharpshooters Podcast, Neil's Corner. A lot of those guys are on there, man. Can't wait to kind of be back on there. But yeah, you guys can find me on Jant Sports on YouTube. Jan716 on Twitter.
Make sure you tap in with Coach Jay. Myself is JMHO Sports Talk on Twitter and YouTube. JMHO Sports Talk, just my humble opinion. New video up. Appreciate all of you for tapping in, man. Much love to you all. Until tomorrow, roll tide. Have a good night. And the truth will always be in the details, man.
Roll tide.
Roll tide. Spin the wheel of doom, Coach Jay.
Yep, I went to the spin wheel of doom.